Hi, my name is Akash Jain, and thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in today. Today, I have my good friend Joel Delgado with me, and we are going to be talking about property management in general for multifamily apartment complexes. Joel, welcome to the show. Why don't you please introduce yourself to our audience here?
Thank you, Akash. I'm Joel Delgado, the owner of Touchstone Property Management, located here in Addison, Texas.
Thank you, Joel. Thanks for that introduction. So, Joel, talk to us a little bit about some of your background. How long have you been in multifamily property management? How old the Touchstone is? Talk to our audience about some of your experience in multifamily and property management in specific.
So I've been in the multifamily industry for about 20, 21 years. Um, Started from the ground level, believe it or not. Started as a maintenance person at personnel at one of the properties that for the company I used to work for, and quickly moved up the ranks and uh, did quite a bit of time with that previous company. And light bulb went off one day with my wife. If we help this person get to the level that they reached, why can't we do it for ourselves? So my wife did maybe another year or two in that company. We used to work in the same company, and she gave me the support that I needed to go out there and start networking and venture out on our own. And 6 years later, Touchstone was blessed with our first two contracts, the two small properties. But at that time, it was a blessing, and it was able to open the doors for us to be able to go to clients like yourselves, and be able to at least show that we had some sort of portfolio. Somebody trusted us with their property, right? And again, 6 years later, now we are uh, 33 properties we manage, consists of 2,500 doors. And we have another 4 or 5 in the pipeline. So, God willing, in the next, I want to say, 60 to 90 days, we'll probably be another 300 doors in.
Great, thank you for that. That's been quite a journey, quite a progress, quite a growth. What do you see? Hey, you manage properties, large and small.
Yes.
Hey, so what is your largest property?
Our largest property is a property that we have. It's 344 units, and it's in the Dallas area.
Great. Are you talking about North Haven Park Apartments that we own, right?
Yes, sir. I didn't know if it was okay to say names, but yes, that is it.
Great, great. And then what is one of the smallest ones that you manage?
One of the smallest ones is actually one of our original properties that we've had for almost 6 years now. That one is, I believe it's 16 units, and it's in Glen Heights, Texas.
What a range, 16 units and 344 units. Tell us a little bit about the different kind of challenges that you see in the smaller versus the larger properties.
Uh, the challenges are not very different, to be honest. A lot of people, there's a misconception out there that a lot of investors have, and people in general have, which is they think that because it's a small property, it's a piece of cake and it's easy. No, the smaller properties could, if you gave me the choice, I will still take a small property because I have a little bit of a different vision than other property management companies have. Which is, when you get to a certain level, you try to cut off, because of these same headaches that I'm going to speak of, you try to cut off those small properties, and all you want is the big ones, right? Because the small properties will have the same exact headaches as a 344 unit property, right? Depending on the age, if you have plumbing leaks, you're going to have plumbing leaks, right? Even though it's 16 units, The pipes get to an age where they start bursting. You start having, sewer backups. You start having problems, right? If it hasn't been maintained, preventative maintenance has not been done on it for a while, right? Um, you know, they have a saying in Texas, right? You either have foundation issues or you're gonna have foundation issues, right? Uh, the buildings are always shifting, things are always happening, right? So, um, kind of the side effects on a smaller property is that since it's small, 9 times out of 10, it doesn't have an office, right? So if there's a manager there that wants to conduct business or trying to lease up a unit there or two units there, there's no actual office. So everything is, has to be done uh, pre-hand before getting there. Thank goodness for electronic leases, right, where you can do that electronically. But it makes it a little bit more difficult, right? Collecting funds again, it's beautiful in this day and age, right? Where most of our properties we have them all electronic payment, right? They'll go onto our portal, they'll make their payment. But again, we have to cater to the residents, right? There are some residents that, depending on the demographic, they are not computer savvy, right? They are not electronic savvy, so they can't jump on. They Even if you teach them, they have a very hard time getting on there and doing things that me and you take for granted, which is a couple of clicks of a button and voila, right? We've paid our mortgage, everything is all said and done, right? For them, they have those challenges, so it's having to go sometimes to those smaller properties to pick up rents in person. So there's no office. So what happens? Manager has to go there at a convenient time where the resident is home to pick up the funds, um, give some sort of concession or discount to another resident there that's going to be the key person that collects funds for you. It's a lot of different it sounds minute, but again, when you add some of these things up, it could be a little bit more troublesome than a normal property that has an office that's large enough where you may have assistants or leasing agents to help share the load.
Got it. Great. Talk to us a little bit about also, when at what size of a property do you put in a full-time manager? At what size of a property do you put in a full-time maintenance person? What are some of those parameters that you look at?
So for me, anything over, I want to say 55, 60 units or 60 doors, depending on the age, right? You may really want to consider having a full-time personnel or almost a full-time personnel there, because again, you're seeing the challenges that I'm speaking of, right? Work orders may be pretty high. Issues that need more attention, can be popping up. So typically, depending on the age of the building, I would say typically, B and C properties, class properties, where I've been seeing the sweet spot is around 60, 65 doors is where you're kind of needing a full-time or almost a full-time personnel inside and out.
Got it. Does that mean that a 120, 130 unit will need two of those?
So
Does it go up proportionally or what?
no, so I would say, up to normally we do up to 100 units. We normally have one person inside and one person outside. 120 units, again, what are the challenges? I would want to go in. If you were to say, Joel, I have a 120 unit for you, can we do this with one manager inside and one maintenance outside? I would I wouldn't promise you one and one. I would say we can try one and one. Let us be in the hot seat for 30 days and evaluate the property. Let's actually see the amount of work orders that come in, the amount of traffic that comes into that property, the amount of people that are in that office at any given time, right? Because at the same time, you don't want one manager let's say that it's a, on a very busy intersection, and you, at any given time, you have 4 or 5 people in your office at one time. Well, it's not going to be very efficient for one manager to be there, right? If it's one manager, and even if it's just a leasing agent or an assistant, just to get that customer service, get that person in and out, get that person, instead of waiting there for 10 or 15 minutes to get to their turn, somebody else can be showing them a unit, touring them the property, while the immediate manager is actually taking care of the more important things.
Excellent, excellent. No, thank you for that. What about Joel? When we look at some of our expenses, hey, property taxes, insurance are two of our some of our biggest expenses, which we do not have. We call them non-controllable expenses because we really do not have a lot of say in that. However, one of our third largest expense on the controllable side is payroll and property management fees.
Right.
How do you help owners control that payroll and the property management side of things?
So with the property management fees, I believe that, again, I can't speak for other management companies, right? Because they have their own fees and metrics on how they come up with their fees. But with us, I believe that overall we are very competitive, if not sometimes a little bit lower, right? Let's say that again, you're prime example, right? You've given me a smaller property, that you've purchased, right? And those fees are comparable with it being a larger property, which it should be the other way around, right? You that smaller property, because it's under a certain unit size, I should be charging you a higher rate, right? But I'm not, because we already have an established relationship, right? I have another property that you're also uh, ownership on. So again, that's I look at it as you're going to continue. Obviously, this is the industry that you're in. You're going to want to continue purchasing properties, and if I'm doing a good job, right, as Touchstone as a whole, if I'm giving you a fair number, chances are you're going to keep bringing those properties to me, and that's in the long run, that's what I want, right? You to be able to continue bringing your properties to me, you be able to go to your friends, peers, and say, hey, I have a great property management company. Give them a call when you're looking at your next deal.
I appreciate that, Joel, and then I can attest to it that hey, you've given me a great deal on my smaller property. On the larger property, hey, the team is doing well. Obviously, there are areas we need to improve on, but hey, one of the areas that we have done stellar is the delinquency. So much appreciate, hey, the partnership there.
Right. And as far as your second part of your question, as far as the payroll expenses, again, payroll is really one area uh, that we take very seriously, and we do a lot of thinking behind it, right? And we speak to the ownership group on those numbers, right? And that is one area that it is controllable, because we can put, set the limit and put, hey, this is the wage that we're going to pay, and this is the budget. But that's one area that we really don't want to skimp on, right? Because at the end of the day, it really comes down to you get what you pay for, right? If we go in there with a manager that's only making $19 an hour, well, that's what you're going to get, is a manager that you're going to have to hold their hand all the time, because their skill set is not where it needs to be if they're willing to be at $19 an hour, right? You want, on the other hand, we're not going to go in there and say we're going to pay a manager $52 an hour either, right? So there's a sweet spot in there, and it really goes on to the skill set, right? What is the size of the property? What is the skill set? What are the challenges? What area are they in? Is it a good area? Is it a little bit of a difficult area where you need somebody that's strong, right? That they're not in the area that you're in, they're not going to walk right over you and intimidate you and stuff like that, right? So again, different kind of ways of looking at it. I may pay a little bit more for a maintenance guy, uh, but that maintenance guy, let's say that he's HVAC certified, um, he's very knowledgeable in plumbing, and can save us, tons of money on not having a vendor out, a plumber uh, or getting an HVAC company to go out there and troubleshoot issues. We can kind of see where the advantages are by just paying a little bit more, where it's going to lower the cost on the expense side on other areas.
Got it. Great. Thank you for that. What about how I know you have 33 properties. How do you balance your time and your wife loses time with all these properties?
It's very easy. We, on Monday mornings we have so kind of little snippet of how our weeks are. Um, Monday mornings we go to corporate office in Addison, and Luz and I, we meet with all of our corporate team members, right? All of our regionals, and between the two of us, she'll grab, in the order that we need to go, whichever. Um, we'll sit down and go over the entire portfolio with that regional. We'll compare it to the previous week. Are their portfolios doing? Are they stagnant? Did the numbers move in the correct direction? Did the numbers move backwards? And if so, why? Right. So I may say today, okay, so today you're going to this property. I would like you to go to this property. You need to put more attention on this property. Second one is this one, third one is this one. These are the ones that need attention. Let's get these goals to the manager. Let us know where you need, our help, assistance, or we can send somebody else to go out there and help you as well. And we basically delegate based on what we see. Uh, we'll delegate people to, kind of the rest of their week for them. From there, Luz and I will sometimes, 9 times out of 10, we'll go together, but sometimes we'll separate just to cover more ground. We'll visit maybe 2 to 3 properties, maybe 3. Sometimes we don't get to 3. We only do, one in the morning and one in the afternoon. But we start going to these 33 properties. We spot check. We want to make sure do the grounds look good. That the manager open at 8:30 when he or she was supposed to. We drive around the property, or does the maintenance is the maintenance on the corner of the property on his cell phone, or sitting down in the curb, right? What are they doing? Making sure that, again, what you're paying us to do, they're actually out there working, and nobody is doing things that they're not supposed to be doing or shouldn't be doing, right? The other third part of the week is getting on ownership group calls. I do have regionals to do that, but I'm very involved, and Luz is very involved, so we do jump on uh, different owner calls throughout the week as well, and say hi. uh, Sometimes they don't even notice that we jumped on. We're just listening. Again, want to see how the customer service is going for you guys as the clients. What are some of the pain points that are going on the property? uh, Obviously we love to hear those conversations where everything's going great on the property. But again, we're heavily involved and want to make sure that we're in the middle of as much as we can.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
that, Joel. Another question around the same topic. Hey, you talked about Monday mornings. You talked about, hey, you're looking at certain reports. Talk to me a little bit about what is it that you're looking for in those reports? What KPIs, key performance indicators, are you focusing on? What needs to go up? What needs to go down? Help our viewers understand that a little bit.
So again, our immediate KPIs that we're looking for when I'm looking at those numbers on Monday is I'm looking at your occupancy, right? So I want to see, your occupancy was at 92% occupied last Monday. This Monday, I wanna see if there's additional progress made. Right, I'm hoping that 92% jumped up to 93, 94, 95% occupancy. Right, did it stay stagnant? Why? Right, so okay, two people moved in, two people had notice to vacate, so those two people moved out. Okay, so it flattened out, right? No progress. Um, are we not getting enough traffic? Are we advertising? Where are we advertising? So those are the type of questions that'll come up when I'm starting to see numbers that are, as many people moving in as many people that are moving out, right? Next one is why are those numbers even? So I'm wanting to see our renewal rate, right? How many people are we actually successfully renewing when those renewals are coming up? Um, so I'm wanting to see at least a 50 to 60% renewal success rate. If it's, and we also have our managers give us the reason why, right? Did they move out of town? Is our price too high? Why, right? Did they move because of a job? Getting those type of reasons helps us better do our job. I'm looking at delinquency, right? From the last week, the previous Monday to this Monday. um, I want to see, big numbers. Obviously, first week, right? They have until the third to pay their rent, right? It's due on the first, but they have until the third. It's kind of pretty much, the same deal across the board, right? In our industry. So when I'm looking at your numbers on Monday and I see a high delinquency, okay, that's to be expected, right? It's the first of the month. They're actually going to start paying that day. But if that following Monday hits, or we're in the third Monday of the month, and I'm seeing that, you still have uh, 39% of your delinquency to collect, there's a huge problem, right? Why? Who, have you passed out your notices, right? Depending on what, county you're in, you're still having to put 30-day notice, but most counties now are at 3. Did you pass out your notices? I want to see it uploaded into the system that you passed out those notices. What are we doing? What efforts are we doing to collect those funds? Are we knocking on doors? Are we making those phone calls? Um, so occupancy, delinquency, renewal rates is kind of what we're looking on a week to week basis. And then you're familiar with this, but there is a weekly spreadsheet that so the same numbers that I want to know what these numbers are before I get on a phone call with you. And not just because uh I want to know, is just because if I know, if I know ahead of time, we can start hitting some of these pain points where we can make that trend change by the time that ownership call, we have to get on the call. And again, we all work as a team, so it's not just the manager level or the leasing agent level. We at corporate, our team likes, to help wherever we can, right? If we don't, that's why we call each other a team. But again, if you as the client are happy, it's easier for everybody, right? There's no reason to struggle for no reason.
Excellent. So you talked about a lot of the hey, delinquency and those kind of KPIs. Your front end KPIs. What about on the maintenance side? What is it that you're looking on the maintenance side?
So on the maintenance, you guys honestly are the ones from North Haven, kind of the way that your calls go, have actually had us start changing some things, which is a good thing, right? When we put no procedures in and we start making changes, that'll better assist us to know number one, whether we have the right team there as far as maintenance personnel, or if we have the right leader for the maintenance personnel. Because like for instance, on your property, uh, I forget how many guys we have over there. I think we have like what is it, 6 guys or something like that, 5 or 6 guys. Again, having the right leader, are they leading? Is our lead maintenance there really leading the guys correctly, right? As far as I can see, his work has been good. We've spot checked and kind of seen, and we love his work. He's fixed some plumbing issues, like I've mentioned earlier in this conversation. So I can see where his value is or has been. Um, I had a meeting with him last week when I was actually at the property, and I told him I wanted a couple of certain things done a certain way. And he's like, well, I can do it that way, but that's going to slow me down here. And I'm like, okay, how so? Well, because, this guy's strong suit is doing patchwork. This other guy's strong suit is painting. So if we have them together in one unit instead of separately, each one in a unit, they can get it done faster. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. So let's see. Here's your expectations. These are how many units I want done. So I believe tomorrow when we go to the property, I'll be checking up on those numbers and seeing if he hit the goals that I gave him. So looking at it backwards, actually seeing how many work orders are being put in, per the request of you and the rest of the ownership team for that property, is now how many work orders are coming in on a weekly basis, how many are coming in on a daily basis, and how serious are those work orders, right? Then in turn to see how many work orders they're turning back in and completing on a daily basis. So it's tracking it a little bit different than the way that we were tracking it before. Before it was, what does the system tell me, right? The system tells me that, for the month of March, there were 75 work orders. And by the end of the month, um, you know, uh, let's say 70 work orders were completed. There were still 5 open work orders. So to me, okay, that's good, right? There, 5 at the end of the month. Those last 5 could have been like the last day of the month or something that they crossed over into April. But for me, okay, the work orders are not piling up; they're getting closed out. But it makes sense the way you guys were wanting to track it is to know where the actual problems are, right? What is the most common problem? Is it a roof leak, right? Are they roof leaks? That's why uh, the work orders are open for so long. Is it an appliance? So we don't want to leave a resident without a stove for more than a day or two, right? Things like that. So, to your point, we've started putting some different changes that we've made to be able to better track those, and know what's going on really more now on a weekly to daily basis.
That's some excellent points there, Joel. How about how do you balance, the work orders and the maintenance people's schedule versus farming out, contracting out some of the work? I know contracting can be a little bit more expensive, but it can also be a little bit more expeditious. So how do you balance the open work orders, the work that is required of the maintenance people versus farming out to the vendors? What do you typically farm out?
So typically what we farm out are the bigger ticket items, right? So if it's let's say it's a plumbing issue where maintenance goes out there, he figures out where it's leaking, where the pipe is leaking from. If it is an under slab leak in the unit where they have to bust concrete and like really get in there, that's really more something that we would farm out. Because you start busting a hole in concrete somewhere and you find out that that's really not where the leak is. Well, you just made a hole in concrete, right? And then you have to make a hole somewhere else to figure out where the water is really coming from, right? So that's more of a, in our opinion, more of an expert plumber that needs to go out there and do that. Now, if we see a pool of water outside, and it's, in the grass, then yeah, our guys can go out there, start digging, and find that pipe, uh, turn off whatever needs to be turned off to cut the pipes and fix them. That's normally done, in house with our team. If it's a couple throughout the property at the same time, again, that's not something that, our every moment that water is leaking is costing you money, right? So that's not something that we want to leave for the in-house team to take 3 or 4 days to try to fix. Again, we'll farm that out to a plumber. But we will, again, if we can do it inside in-house, we'll try to do it in-house. Now, if it's saying, hey, it's going to take X amount of days without, over our comfort level of what we suggest, it would be a burden for the resident. We'll try to do it in-house. Same thing with HVAC. 9 times out of 10, our guys should be able to fix it. Uh, if it's a chiller, those are big machines, big equipment. If you turn one wrong knob, you can mess something up on those machines, right? So the chillers are normally with the plumber, or a company that specializes in chillers. Electrical work, again, unless there's uh, an exterior panel outside, which is the higher wattage, we'll try to do it in house. Sewer backup, again, we have a snake machine at the properties. Most of our properties have them, so we'll try to snake it ourselves before it reaches. If they can't do it, after the third or fourth attempt, then again we'll have to vendor it out.
And I'm assuming it's the same with some of the other issues, such as roof leaks. Is a small roof leak, probably in-house personnel and take care of it. And it obviously depends on the size of the leak and so on and so forth. But if it's a roof replacement, that will typically be farmed out. Correct.
Correct. That is correct.
What about turnovers? Is that mostly done in-house?
So we love turns, right? Yes. Again, if on a property that size, like the 344 unit, yes, we'll typically have one or two of the guys dedicated to do the unit turns. And it be done in house. If, let's say, the manager leases out seven, which is, that's something great that you want to hear, saying that they were able to lease in a week, right? And we don't have enough available units. At that point, what we've asked is, hey, you reach out to your manager, let your manager know that this is the amount of units you're going to be able to turn in by the end of the week. If it's not going to be enough to suffice the demand, then at that point, can you pull one or two more guys to do turns? No, they're the ones doing the work orders. At that point, the manager will reach out to us and say, hey, I have 7 leased. They could only give me 3. I need to vendor out 4, or, they can only give me 4, whatever the case may be. And at that point, we can jump in and send additional, a GC or two to go out there and get the rest of those units done. But again, we try to do it in house to save money on it, as long as they can keep up with the demand.
Great, great. Thank you for that. Now, hey, one of the other things that we have seen is it's much easier to retain a tenant than to get a new one. Talk to me and our viewers a little bit about how do you ensure that your staff at the property is providing amazing customer service and retaining as many as you can, and not having to rely on renting out to new tenants.
So we look at in Resman, they have, so number one, when we go ahead and when we get a new property, one of the first things that we set up alongside Resman is an email address, right? Which you guys are aware. like yours is North Haven at touchstonepm.com. Well, that's our email that the manager uses, but we can get in there. And again, it's we're not doing anything unethical. It's kind of the only way that one of the only ways that we can keep track of and see what's going on, right? We go ahead and jump on periodically on those emails and see the emails that are coming in. We can see the emails that are being sent out, and read how some of these responses are, right? Are they being rude to the resident? Are they complying with the resident? Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Okay, we'll be. Uh, are they being customer friendly? Um, Through Resman, we can see when they text a resident, when they send a template, email, any correspondence to a resident. For those properties that have apartments.com, we listen to the phone calls, so we can hear their responses, how they're speaking to them. We can troubleshoot some of these issues on, hey, you were too soft on that close. You didn't try hard enough to close this deal. You just let them, you got off the phone. You didn't ask them for their name. You didn't ask them for a telephone number. You didn't set a time to tour. Like, what's going on? So we go over these different areas. Also, like I said, me and Lou spot check on properties. We listen to, we try to be out of sight, out of mind. But we're listening. Like me, if you look through the cameras over there, I'll go into the property, or when you've gone into the property, you've seen me. You'll see me sitting by the manager. The reason, and I'm always on my laptop. I'm always doing something, but I'm multitasking. I'm hearing how she picks up the phone, how she responds to the resident, how is she speaking to the rest of her staff, right? Does the rest of the staff look happy? I'll pull out one of I'll pull the leasing agent. Hey, can you show me that new unit that the guys just finished up? Can you grab the keys? And I'll walk solo with the leasing agent. How's your week been? Oh, it's been good. How's everybody doing? Anything I need to know about? I'll kind of pick her brain separately from the manager, so that she's not speaking in front of the manager. They can speak freely. How's it going with the residents? Things like that. And again, keeping track of and looking at those KPIs, which is what's the success rate of the renewals. When I'm seeing 70, 80% renewal rates, they're doing, I believe they're doing their job great. Because if I'm not treating you well, if I'm not giving you respect, if I'm not treating you well as a resident, you're really not, I wouldn't, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't renew either. You'd already be finding where to go, so when your lease is up, you're out of there. But again, our I believe we are in the 80s on renewals there on that property.
Yep. No, we are. I think the whole leasing staff is doing an excellent job. We are at very high renewal rates. And not only that, I think we have consistently raised rents since we have owned that property. So that brings me to another point, right? We as owners are always looking at increasing NOI. Talk to me a little bit about how have you, as a management company, helped us owners increase our NOI, because we have to answer to our investors, and our investors are always looking at that net operating income, which is revenue minus your expenses. How have you, as a management company, helped us do that to earn your keep?
So again, very first one, which is again a key one, I believe, is going back to the point that we just spoke about a little bit ago, which is trying to do as much as we possibly can in house with the resources that we have, without having to vendor anybody out. Again, sometimes that's not the case, because again, hey, supply and demand is different, right? So we have the demand for, like the example that I used before, we have 7 units that just got rented out, and our guys could only, produce 3 or 4. Again, that's going to be an explainable expense on why, we had to farm out, those couple of units, but it was, to be able to accommodate for the lack of um, available units that we would have by the time that those residents are supposed to move in. So by doing that, I mean, we're paying them their 80 hours. So why not pay them their 80 hours and produce some of this work if it's available, right? Um, our buying power. There's a difference between the level that we are and what it costs us to purchase some of these materials versus somebody going that may not have that buying power. So, for instance, if you were to go, maybe not, right? But if you were to go, to Home Depot, let's say, and you get a deadbolt, that deadbolt, make for the regular person, it's going to cost $25. Well, because of our price tier, because we pull all of our properties together to give you a lower rate, um, that same deadbolt may now cost you $15, or $12. Uh, so our buying rate, our buying power on those materials to do your turns, costs you less. Finding other areas of improvement where additional forms of income. You know, again, carports, if it merits it, if you guys would be up for it, reserve parking, the laundry room facilities, cable packages, smart apartments where, smart thermostats, smart locks, things of that nature. You brought a good one, which was forgot their name. It started with a P.
Pinata.
Pinata. Okay, so that one again, collaborating and even the ownership group bringing good ideas into the mix as well. Our parking situation, our tow truck company. We have a some sort of agreement, is what I'm understanding, where we also get income back from them. So again, a quarter here, a nickel there adds up to a lot. A little adds up to a lot at some point, right? So again, there's where anything that we hear from other groups where I network and other, like-minded peers, as they're sharing ideas, conferences that I go to, when we get new ideas, we always share them, with the ownership group. At the end of the day, we can't always do and get what we want. We do have to, pass it through you guys as the ownership group, and if we all collectively agree, then we'll move forward with it. If one or two think it's a bad idea, then we can table it for another day and see if it may pop back up later on.
So those are some excellent points there, Joel. And again, I think as the revenue grows, so does your fees, right? So I think
Right.
it's obviously in our both of our interest to make sure that the revenue grows, and some of those additional income ideas are amazing ideas for some of the owners to go implement. Now, hey, I think a lot of what property management boils down to is staffing and the staff on the property. Talk to us about how do you keep obviously payroll is one thing, and paying your staff market price is obviously what is needed. But at the same time, talk to me and my viewers about how do you keep your staff motivated? What is it that you do with your staff? How do you make sure that they're up to all the codes and all the training that is required in the industry as well?
So what we end up doing is once a month, which I know that you guys are very aware of this already. Once a month, we do have a managers meeting at the corporate office. So all of our managers from throughout, throughout the Metroplex, they all come to the corporate office. We normally provide breakfast for them, and we have them from 9 a.m. To 12 in the afternoon, and we go over training. So we have the big projectors on, and we go over items that we're seeing across the board, right? Pain points. Um, you know, Sometimes we call them out because you have to learn some way, right? So for some properties that are not performing the way that they should, we'll share with their peers. Look, this property we passed by, and look at the pictures. Why is there trash everywhere, right? Hey, we showed up over here. The weeds on the grass were super high. Why? Where's the landscaping? Um, this manager at this property closed out at zero delinquency and 100% occupancy. Round of applause. We'll pass out certificates. I give out gift cards. Um, you know, a manager at that level, or it doesn't have to be to that level, but that showing improvement from the prior month. We'll take them out to lunch, things like that. We do events with our staff every quarter. We'll do something different. We'll take them to the bowling alley. We'll take them to do some sort of activity, escape room, or things like that that we've done. But again, it's just same classes that we have. We normally, for me, it trickles down, right? Who can I 100% trust for the most part, or who are my key players? Is my corporate team. So I will send somebody from the corporate team to go, to TAA Red Book class, right, for upcoming changes that happened for the year. Now that regional will now in turn, train the rest of us, update the rest of us at the corporate level, and then it trickles down to the managers. Sometimes if I see very big potential, I have no problem with sending a a leasing agent to some of these, AAGD classes to become a leasing stud, right? Um, if one of my managers is, he or she is strong enough and believe that they want to get their CAM license, I'll pay for it. I don't know how many, I can't count anymore how many HVAC classes that I've paid for to make sure that my up and coming superstar, maintenance team leads are certified, you know, things like that. So me investing in these courses for our team members, in turn, bring a value to you guys as well. Because again, if we can do it in house, why farm it out to an HVAC company when we can do it for a fraction of the cost, right?
Oh, those are some again amazing things to do for the staff to keep them motivated, keep them doing good work at the properties. Now, it's not only the staff at the property, Joel. I know you have a big staff at the corporate office as well, and a lot of the time we generally don't see those line items in our P&L. Hey, talk to me a little bit about what is it that you're doing at the corporate office, some of the accounting staff, some of the admin staff that you have, who are supporting some of these properties, and we don't even see some of those line items in a P&L.
That's a valid point, and that's actually a good topic. I've had many interviews in my day, and that is normally not something that anybody asks. That's normally the crew that normally does not get recognized. So thank you for that. In my accounting department, we have Cheryl, we have Chad, we have Steve, and Lydia. That those are my hidden gems behind the scenes that do a lot of these reports for you guys, right? That you guys sometimes reach out and ask for certain things to be done a certain way, and everybody's unique, right? Because the reports, it's the same system that we're using, but you know, per your lender, there's certain things that you need to show that other properties do not need to show, right? Or certain ways that you would like your reports being done that another ownership group likes it a different way. So not only does my team do the books for everybody, they also in some cases do them differently for a lot of our clients. So that is kind of part of the experience that you get from Touchstone, is that some of this is tailored to you based around the ownership group. It's not based on how we're doing it or what we want, right? Um, that's the accounting department. They do, again, they also do lender draws for those clients that are needing those things done. Um, if there's more than one done before we took over, we typically need some assistance to kind of see how those draws were being done beforehand. But from there, we can take those over. Um, in the corporate office, we have Juventino, we have Jennifer, we have Madeline, we have Luz that plays a little bit of a double role, right? She's not only a one of the owners of Touchstone, but she also serves as a regional role at times. I do so as well, not to the degree that she does, but again, I like to jump in there and help out wherever my team needs, on top of whatever else I got going on. Um, our Touchstone construction department, there is 11 guys that are in the construction department, uh, 10 that are workers, and we have the 11th guy, which is Joe. And he's the director of construction. Uh, Still kind of molding him on kind of pricing structures. On some of them, he's a little high on certain numbers, but again, we're kind of grooming him there as far as meeting timelines and dates and things of that nature. I think that pain point has been finally resolved with a couple of programs and additional things that we've given them, tools that we've given them to be able to make sure that that's being done correctly.
Oh, that's great. Hey, I know, hey, the accounting department, both Chad, Cheryl, Lydia, and Steve, they've been outstanding with the reports as well as whatever we need from a financial perspective on a monthly basis. They've been very prompt about it. Uh, Joel, one more question around that you already touched on the construction department. So, what all can your construction department take on? Are you fully vertically integrated, or are there pockets of work that you do yourself, and there are pockets that you farm out from a construction perspective?
So other than foundation, um, resurfacing and installing granite, our guys normally can do the rest. Uh, Again, we had one big project. Uh, it entailed a lot. That was a very big project, but that property had some units that were down to the bare studs, right? And or had to get down to the bare studs, and the rewiring to brand new everything was installed in those units.
You're talking
Um,
about Touchstone, right? You're talking about North Haven Park, right?
yes, sir. So again, some of the guys, it did take a little bit. We had the wrong leader there as far as construction, uh, the construction lead at that moment. Um, but again, I needed to get involved, and luckily we were able to meet the end all be all promise date that I gave you guys. Um, but again, that was a learning curve for us. Since that happened, again, we've been able to get to that point now where we're so organized in that team now that we know exactly we're 2 weeks out. So not only are my guys set for the rest of this week, since last Friday, they're also set up already for what they're doing next week, right? They're meeting goals, and in some instances, we're meeting goals sooner than what we've given. So let's say that we tell you, hey, Akash, they're gonna, it's gonna take 3 days to get this unit turned. We've been in some cases doing them in 2 days, or we're telling you, hey, this is a heavier turn. It's gonna take 7 days, and sometimes we're finishing it in 5 or 6 days. Um, Again, that's giving them more tools that they needed, right? Exactly the rigs that they're needing, right? The spray rigs, instead of two teams sharing one. Hey, well, I didn't know that you needed something else. You need to speak up, right? So what do? I bought a couple of more paint rigs, so each team has their own, right? Sanders, you name it, anything, chip hammers, whatever you need, as long as you guys have the correct tools, you can make it, you can do your job easier and more efficient. We also um, have a program which we're not at the level yet where we can create it ourselves. At some point, we will be creating our own. We're in talking terms right now on trying to create our own application for Touchstone Construction. But we found a program that, for the time being, will give us what we want. So within the next 30 days, all the pricing will be already instilled. So now I can walk a unit with all of our pricing, what we get, our cost, the materials already implemented into there. So I can walk a unit with you and tell you, Akash, this unit's going to take, uh, you know, $2,000 in materials, and it's going to be X amount in labor within, walking with you 15, 20 minutes, looking at those units.
That's very good. That's excellent. And I know at the North Haven you did 25 units from bare studs all the way out, and those units look fantastic. And I'm not sure as to if I have the numbers off the top of my head, but maybe you do. What kind of a rent bump have we gotten on some of those units, Joel? Do you remember?
I do not remember what the rent bumps have been, but I know that you guys were happy with the number. I just don't remember what that number is off the top of my
Yeah, no,
head.
I think those units we had brand new floors and brand new cabinets and new appliances and granite countertops, and they were platinum units. And I think we are getting somewhere in the neighborhood of 250 to $300 on rent bumps on those. So
Okay.
that is some excellent numbers there. Great, Joel. I think obviously thanks a lot for a lot of your time. But before I let you go, one last question around this year. Obviously over the last couple of years, you've seen that, hey, the interest rate increases has hit the multifamily industry, right? This year, we are seeing a lot of distress in the market. Not only a lot of distress, we are seeing a lot of changing of hands in a lot of properties.
Right.
I would like to hear from you what you are seeing in the industry and where you see there are some opportunities for us to maybe go work together.
Okay. So what I've seen again is what you just exactly mentioned, right? I'm seeing uh, a lot of these owners getting to the point where they've exhausted their cap rate, um, and they can't afford the jump that mortgage is going to take. So yes, they're changing hands. We're seeing new ownership groups come in. I'm seeing a lot more of the loan assumptions, right, coming into play. I've seen quite a few ownership groups just come in, raise funds, and not not go that route, and just kind of try to raise the money to do it. Um, but at some point, again, I'm not 100% sold that it's not going to happen again. But for most of my clients, what I've seen was the insurance double, right? So you start putting all these dominoes that just fell in different areas, and it is catastrophic, right? To the point where I've seen a couple of clients that they're debating whether they renew the cap rate, for an additional time, or is this their exit time. um so I have seen, in this year alone, I've had current clients that have exchanged hands, and we've actually been able to maintain the property with the new ownership group, which is great. Three times. I've had three different clients, and pretty much they were all because the jump to the new mortgage rate was going to be astronomical for them to be able to continue maintaining to pay that debt.
Well, great. Hey, Joel, thank you so much for tuning in today, talking to me about how you run your company, how you've done some good work for us, and how you continue to do good work for other clients as well. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Akasha. It was an honor.
Thank you,
Talk
sir.
to you soon.